Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today's another fun video. It's video number 23 of my Beginning Gardener series, and it's the end of March, and it's time to plant all my warm season crops. Now my cool season crops are all done. I've planted those seeds. They're up and ready to be transplanted as soon as the weather warms up a little bit. It's still been snowing. The temperatures have been in the low 20s at night, so it's been really cold. So I'm really happy that I get to plant my warm season crops, and hopefully we'll be able to get them into the garden before June. Now I've done videos on planting my tomatoes and peppers. I've planted some other warm season crops that I didn't video. And we're not going to plant the cucumbers or squash until a much later date. Those germinate very quickly and are ready to transplant into the garden in 2 or 3 weeks. So we're going to wait until the middle of May to plant those. But today I'm really excited that we're going to be able to plant some of my flower seeds. So we're going to show you today what I'm going to plant and why I'm going to plant it. Now I did a video on companion planting a little while ago, and I'll link that up at the top. So none of these flowers are really being started for their special properties. What I'm starting them for is so that they can attract the beneficial insects. Now I love all of these, and let's start with the zinnias. So some of my favorite zinnias are the Queen Lime varieties. I love the Queen Lime Red, the Queen Lime Orange, and the Queen Lime Blush. They are absolutely gorgeous. And I also love the little tiny Lilliput variety. So those are the zinnias that I'm going to have in my garden, and I'm going to have 6 of each variety. The next one that I'm going to start is just an experiment. I did some winter sowing, and you can look up what winter sowing is, on some milkweed. And then I've also stratified these in my refrigerator for a while. That means I put them in the refrigerator for, it's been about a month and a half or so. And I'm also going to direct sow some of these outdoors and just see what is the best way to start the narrowleaf milkweed. Another one that I'm going to start is one of my favorites that I have in my garden every year, and that's marigolds. Now I don't grow marigolds because they repel insects, because they don't. I grow them because I think they're beautiful and for the pollinators that they attract. Another one that I'm going to start is anise hyssop. It brings in so many bees, and it's an absolutely gorgeous plant, and the leaves smell like licorice. I love anise hyssop. We're also going to direct sow some chamomile, and we're going to start some in pots and see what's the best way to do that. And I love chamomile because I use it for chamomile tea, and the pollinators love it. And then every year I always have calendula. And there's also going to be another orange variety that I collected seeds from the plants in my garden, and those will also self-sow. Now these are going to be started for my green stock. I'm going to put some calendulas in the green stock. So let me show you how I plant these seeds. Okay, so I don't know what it is lately, but getting this camera turned on before I plant my seeds has been a big issue. I thought for sure I turned it on. I don't know if it turned off while I was planting seeds, but let's go through exactly what I've done. Now I've done seed starting videos that I'll link up above, and planting seeds for flowers is exactly the same as planting them for tomatoes. So I guess you don't need to see me actually put the seeds in the soil, but let me talk to you a little bit about what I planted them in and why. Now all of the flowers that I have planted are going to need full sun. They're going to need really good garden soil, more fertilizer than your regular perennials. These are all annuals except for a couple of them, and I'll show you which ones are not the annuals. Now I've started all of these seedlings in the Epic 6-cell pots. I absolutely love these. I've highlighted these before. And I've started them in regular seed starting mix. Now what you see on the top here is vermiculite. And vermiculite is basically a man-made product. It's a product that actually soaks up the water, holds it, and then releases it slowly. And because it does that, it helps eliminate algae problems. It also helps eliminate damping off, which is a disease where the plant, when the seedling comes up, if it's too moist, if it's too humid, sometimes those seeds will get a fungus that will just make them immediately die. For some reason, ever since I've started using vermiculite, that has not been a problem anymore in my grow room. So I always use vermiculite over the top. And because it reduces those fungal issues and algae, and it releases water slowly, it really enhances the germination rate of your seeds. So I absolutely love using vermiculite. Now, as I said, these are in a seed starting mix. Seed starting mix is finer than regular potting soil, so it actually helps with the germination of the plants. Some of these seeds are really tiny, and I'll show you each of those seeds and what they look like. So let's start talking about the calendulas. These are calendula seeds. These are seeds that I actually saved from my regular garden variety calendula. I actually purchased calendula transplants from a garden center, maybe it was about 10 years ago, and planted them in my garden and have let them go to seed every year since, and I've never had to plant calendulas since then. Now, the reason I'm planting calendulas in pots now is so that I can put them in my green stocks. Let me move this for Kitty. So I absolutely love these little orange calendulas. Now, all the calendulas that I'm going to plant, like I said, they are annuals, but they reseed, so they kind of act like perennials. Once you plant them, you always get them. Now, this variety comes back, let me get that out of here. This variety will come back and look just like the plant that you took the seed from. But these two varieties, I think they might be hybrids. I'm not sure. I did save some seeds, and I'm going to sow those out in the garden just to see if they come back and look the same. But I absolutely love this Snow Princess. It's kind of a little bit of a double. It's got this pale yellow flower to it, and it's absolutely gorgeous. The Strawberry Blonde is also another gorgeous one. This one is not quite as full as the Snow Princess or the orange variety, but it's got some really, really beautiful colors to it. So those are the calendulas that I planted. Then I planted anise hyssop. Now, anise hyssop seeds are really, really tiny. Let me show you what they look like. Don't know if you can even see them in the camera. They're really, really tiny. And these are a perennial. I've grown these in my garden for years. I actually purchased transplants from a nursery several years ago, and they've reseeded themselves in my garden ever since. But I did tear all of them out, and they haven't come back for the last couple of years. So I am trying to plant some up in pots. I'll actually scatter some of these seeds outside and see if we can get a stand of anise hyssop coming up. Now, anise hyssop has a really beautiful licorice scent to it. It's got a tall purple flower, and the bees absolutely love this plant. So this one, we'll see how well it does. Now, these seeds, if you read the seed packet, it's too small to read. Well, maybe, I don't know if you can see that or not. But it says that these seeds need light to germinate. So I just scattered a few on the surface of the soil, pressed them in a little bit, and then put the vermiculite over the top. So even if seeds need light to germinate, you can put vermiculite on top because the light does go through that. Now, it was the same with the chamomile seeds. They don't need to be planted very deeply. You just scatter them on the surface of the soil. These can also be scattered outside, direct sown outdoors. But I wanted to get some started indoors for the green stalks, and also just in case they don't germinate very well, being direct sowed outside. So we've got some chamomile seeds started. The other perennial was the milkweed seeds. Let me show you what those seeds look like. Now, milkweed seeds are pretty large. They actually look a little bit like zinnia seeds, but these also should only be planted about 1/4 of an inch. Now, these are narrowleaf milkweed, and our native milkweed is actually the showy milkweed. And I feel like a traitor for saying this, but I absolutely cannot stand the showy milkweed. They are only beautiful when they're in bloom, which is 2 or 3 weeks out of the year, and they look ratty every other part of the year. They also spread like crazy. They spread by rhizomes and by seed. Hey baby, he's needing some attention. I planted some seeds from some of the milkweed that I found along the corner of the roadway in my garden a few years ago, and have not been able to get rid of them since. They just keep coming back. I even pulled some out last year that were sprouting. So I've heard that the narrowleaf milkweed will grow well in this area. It is also a host for the monarch butterflies, and according to what I've researched, it's a little more tame than the showy milkweed. Now, the marigolds are wonderful. I love this variety of marigold. They are absolutely gorgeous color. Oh, baby needs his belly rubbed. Sorry, we're gonna have to rub bellies for a minute. Yes. Now you can save the seeds from these marigolds. I've actually saved seeds from these marigolds and they will come back the same as the marigolds that you planted. Now direct sowing them is a better option in the garden if you have a longer growing season, but we have a short growing season, so I like to start these indoors. The last thing that I planted were the zinnias. Now I absolutely love these queen lime varieties. My favorite one is the queen lime orange. It is the most gorgeous color you've ever seen in a flower, in my opinion. I also love the queen lime red, but the queen lime blush is also really gorgeous. So I love all of these, and I started a 6-pack of each one of these. So I'm going to have 21 of these zinnias. And zinnia seeds need to be sown 1/4 of an inch deep. The last one that I sowed was these little tiny lilliput zinnias. Their little flower heads are really small, but they come in all sorts of different colors and they're really cute. I absolutely love these. Now to care for these seeds indoors, I'm going to put a humidity dome over the top until they sprout. And once they sprout, I'll take the humidity dome off. Then I will keep them moist until they get their first true leaves, and then I will let them dry out a little bit between waterings. I'm going to put some Osmocote on the top. Now, I'll link a video at the top that talks about how I fertilize my indoor plants, and that goes for the flower seedlings too. But I like to put Osmocote, which is a slow release fertilizer, over the top of the soil. And then once they get several true leaves, I will supplement that as necessary with a liquid fertilizer at half strength. So that is it. And I would absolutely love to hear what annual flowers you're sowing indoors and even what perennial flowers you're sowing indoors. And if you have any other tips and tricks on growing them well. Now I forgot to say I'm in Utah, zone 6/7, and our last frost date is around the 21st of May. So these are being started a little bit early for some of them, but the calendulas and marigolds can tolerate just a little bit of frost. Now, normally people say marigolds don't tolerate frost, but I've seen temperatures dip into the mid-30s and still have the marigolds survive. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.